Hey there, good evening, and welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph, and I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other forms of rock music. Ironically, today we're doing more jazz and more blues than we have been, but it's based on the type of setup we're doing here. Anyways, it's the 1968 episode 5 of Rock Greats Who Thrilled Us but have since passed on, and we're honoring two more people today. One of them, legendary harmonica guitar player for the blues, rhythm and blues, known as Little Walter, Marion Walter Jacobs. The other guy is also a legend in his own field, which is more jazz oriented, and that's John Leslie Montgomery, also known as Wes Montgomery. So we're going to be doing these two today, so I will be wearing my glasses at some point to go through some stuff that I made notes of, and so we can talk about them. So we're going to start with Little Walter. Okay, so Little Walter was born May the 1st, 1930. Apparently he has the same kind of thing going on as Satchel Paige. Nobody's quite sure what year he was born in, but every time he's put down something, it's always been May 1st. So it looks like he could have been born anywhere between 1923 and 1930, depending on who you talk to. So anyways, born in 1930, we're going to go with that one. In Marksville, Louisiana. I'm going to need my glasses for some of this. And he died February the 15th, 1968, at age 37, if you're going with the 1930 birth date, in Chicago, Illinois. He played mostly in the blues, Chicago blues, and rhythm and blues genres, which I consider blues and then rhythm and blues to be the forerunners to rock and roll music. His instruments were harmonica, and he did do vocals and play guitar as well. Okay, so he was active from 1945 to his death in 1968, I believe. Yes, we're doing that. I think I wrote the wrong year here. Yes, I did. I wrote the wrong year for him for his death. It's 1968. I knew I had the wrong year. Anyways, basically, what has he been known for? Okay, he was known for, he played with Muddy Waters, he played with Jimmy Rogers, he played with the Four Aces. He was one of the Four Aces. He played mostly acoustic guitar with some of these, but he was known for his harmonica. And more than just known for his harmonica, he was considered, I think, if not the first, one of the first people to use instrumental distortion for music. He would often cup his hand over his harmonica and distort it into the mic, which causes a distortional feedback, and it kind of had a little bit of an effect. He's actually a legend for that reason. So basically, he made music from those two periods of time, and then he died in 1967 in February the 15th. Yeah, he's considered to be one of the first people to use distortion. The reason I chose him mainly was because of his harmonica ability. There are quite a few rock bands that do use harmonica. This is not always popular with everybody. However, it is relevant, and I wanted to give some kind of acknowledgement to the harmonica in rock music, and I think this guy had an impact on those people. There was a story that he actually played on tour with the Rolling Stones. However, they have said that has not been the case. At least Keith Richards has said that. However, whether he actually played on the tour with the Rolling Stones or not, to me, is somewhat irrelevant. what is relevant is that his harmonica playing drew notice because of the way in which he played it. So he was the first to use distortion. He was a very good harmonica player. He also played guitar quite well as well, and he sang. I listened to some of his stuff earlier today. His harmonica playing is pretty impressive stuff. So if you want to hear somebody who really knows how to play the harmonica and play it well, if that's an instrument you like, this is a guy you should check out. And they don't give any direct references to people who were influenced by him, but I gotta think that anybody who played the harmonica would have to know about this guy. Just one of the legends of it. So I don't have really too much to tell you about Little Walter, other than he was a rhythm and blues player, which rhythm and blues to me was kind of the forefront of rock music. So it's our roots, so we have to kind of acknowledge it if we want to move forward. And so I wanted to give some kind of attention to this ability. So the next guy I knew a little bit more about and had listened to more of his stuff before, and made a point of listening to quite a bit of it today as well. And we're talking about John Leslie Montgomery, also known as Wes Montgomery. Another guy who died fairly young as well. Anyways, give you the vital stats here. I'm going to clean this off so I can actually see what I'm doing. It's always good to be able to see what you're doing. Okay, he was born March 6, 1925 in Indianapolis, Indiana, and he died June the 15th, 1968 at the age of 43 in Indianapolis, Indiana. Died of a heart attack. Seems really young to be dying of heart attack. Had 7 kids, according to the video a couple of videos I watched. He seemed like a really gentle kind of guy. He was also, obviously he was a guitar player. That's why I chose him. He's a jazz guitarist. Was active from 1947 to 1968, the exact same amount of time as Little Walter. He did have a couple of siblings that were somewhat notable here, at least had an impact in his life, which was his older brother Monk, and Buddy, his other brother, who played in his band, the Montgomery. Montgomery, what was the name of the band now? I can't remember. I did write it somewhere, can't remember. Okay, he toured with Lionel Hampton from 1948 to 1950. He recorded with the Pacific Jazz label with his brothers, Monk on bass and Buddy on vibes. He was signed with the Riverside in 1959 and released a series of highly acclaimed small group recordings, and in the traditional jazz style. And he released his first album. He released the first of 10 albums under the Verve label, and he also had, I believe, yes, he did he had 5 albums that he released later under the A&M Records. 5 more albums. And again, it was pop, and the latter albums were a little more poppy. He tried to go a little bit more poppy with his music towards the end. Probably there was money to be made, I would think. So the things about him that are important: he was a very good guitar player, first off, and you know what? He was self-taught. Basically, he liked Charlie Christian, and he tried to imitate him as best he could, and he just played day and night until he got it. But the thing he did that was notable and interesting is that he never used a pick. He used his thumb. Everything he played with his thumb. Very unusual, unique style. A lot of musicians of the time period just couldn't understand how he was able to do it. But I watched him, man. He was fast with that thumb, and pretty good chord hand as well for picking notes. Pretty strong guitar player. One of the better ones I've seen. Anyway, so this is what brought him to fame, was this use of his thumb and being self-taught. And the big thing is he didn't even start really playing until he was 19. And when he first played, his brother had purchased him a 4-string guitar, which he later said ended up being not much help to him, because as soon as he got his first 6-string, he had to redo everything, relearn everything, and he didn't really start playing until he was almost 21. You think about that, for the skill level that I seen from watching him, to learn at so late a time, amazing. You know, most virtuoso musicians start at a very young age, like 5. It's not unheard of for them to be starting at 5 years old, turning them into virtuosos. But this guy was incredible, and I think he was just dedicated to doing it. You know, that's what it had to have been. Okay, a few other things about him. Okay, he was he liked to play in octaves, like with I'm not a guitar player in the sense that I'm like that good about it, but I know he played in octaves, which was a little bit unusual too. He won a Grammy in 1966 for Best Instrumental Jazz Performance. So, and again, for me, the thing that I noticed about him, and I'm not really a jazz virtuoso at all, I begun to get into the realm a little more, and this doing these videos has helped me quite a bit to study some of the people who were somewhat influential in that genre. But the thing I noticed about him over some of the other guys I've looked at is the speed in which he handled the guitar. Like he was quick, accurate, and he was not, I wouldn't say he was he wasn't heavy on the strings or heavy on the guitar. He wasn't like in your face dominating type guitar player, but he just was very smooth, very fast, and especially with his thumb. Like I was watching his thumb, I think, boy, there's no way I could ever do that. Like the guy just was like, it was just like a pick almost, like to his finger, and he just played with the edge of his thumb, and just extraordinary, you know. So Wes Montgomery, jazz great. I'm sure he's been very influential on a lot of guitar, at least a lot of the jazz guitarists that came out after that subscribed to him as being very influential in that unique style that he used. And I'm sure that there's a lot of rock musicians that have listened to him. I'm sure they know who he is. Like, how could you not know who he is? He's just, to me, he's just great. Like, he's fantastic. And such a gentleman, too, you know. Just, like, really easygoing and talkative and not hostile, and, you know, just a smooth, nice man. So, there you go. I think if I was going to get into jazz music fairly heavily, like start listening to a lot more stuff, I think some of his stuff would be among my first stuff to get. So if you're thinking about going that route, you will not be wrong to pick up Wes Montgomery's, any of his albums on jazz guitar, and with his quintet and with the groups that he played with. Some really, really good stuff. And you'll be able to see from listening to him just how much of an influence he has on a lot of people. Anyways, there you have it. Wes Montgomery and Little Walter, the two chosen for today's episode. And we'll be doing another episode this Tuesday. This is Tuesday. This Thursday will be the next episode 6. Got a couple more really, really good musicians to talk about. And I know some of you are wondering why I'm doing so much jazz and rhythm and blues and stuff, but I think these things have impact on rock later. And plus, at this stage of the game in the early 1960s, not many rock musicians had passed on, because the genre had just recently come to be, you know. So you're looking at less than a decade worth of musicians playing rock music at this point in time. So not many of them were passing on. I mean, that'll change as it goes along, But since a lot of them haven't passed on, I thought it might be an excellent time to learn about some of the jazz and soul and blues musicians that came during the beginning of rock and roll and the influences they had. And so we'll be probably continuing with more of that tomorrow, or Thursday, I mean. So I just want to say, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any comments about anything I've said, please share them. Anything that you might want to point out that maybe I didn't get, or if you have somebody who you think I might want to be listening to try and get a more feel for the jazz part of it, that's great as well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. So you have a good evening, and this is Prog Monster out.